Pete talks about these experiences in recovery and crisis work in his talk, Crisis Junkie, Lessons from an Addict. Please welcome Pete Hilen.
So, this is me, young, innocent, naive, hungry for a Mr. Goodbar. Life was simple. I didn't really need to seek out things as they were for the most part provided for me. Yet like any young person, I'm lost, only able to see what's in front of me, unable to decipher the meaning of it all. You know, a question I had back then, and I struggled with for years, is why do we seek a calling? Why do people choose to do what they do? Why would anybody want to be an accountant or a beautician or an auto mechanic? I mean, what itch do they get to scratch by doing your taxes or a perm or changing your oil? Why do we choose to do what we do? Abraham Maslow said that a musician must make music, an artist must paint, and a poet must write. So, then I have no say in the matter. I am what I am, so I will be what I will be, but yet I don't know what that is. You know, I know what it means to have an itch to scratch. Before I was here in this mind and body, I was in another mind and body, and that of a drug addict and an alcoholic, crazy with the idea of itches to scratch. I mean, I once licked money, CD cases, and toilet tank lids to scratch that itch. And no matter what anybody says to you, comfort is a very dark place when it is passionately sought. But then the sun came out. I found myself on the surface again, surrounded by friends, and suddenly it all made sense. I was going to be a therapist, and I was going to be the accountant of all therapists. Well, my first job proved that wrong. I found myself on an inpatient unit, surrounded by the chaos of recovery, the daily crisis, and I was hooked. Well, to be honest, initially I thought I was going to get my ass kicked, but eventually, when that fear subsided, I wanted to be in the front lines when crisis was happening. You know, the Statute of Liberty reads, "Give me your poor, your tired, your huddled masses yearning to be free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shores." Well, yes, I'll take those, but what I really want is I want your psychotic, you're delusional, you're unmedicated, you're agitated. Yes, that's gonna scratch my itch and feed my shores. You know, I believe there's nothing unique as a crisis worker. We go to work in a place where furniture can miraculously fly through the air and where conversations are like this. So you think you can lick people well. So how long have you been a healer? I mean, I once watched a person give CPR to a bird that crashed into the window of the crisis res I was operating. And I thought to myself, I never knew they were an animal lover. When I interview people for these positions and I get asked, you know, what's every day like, or what's an average day like? I know they don't have what it takes, but when I get asked, what's your average response to a crisis time? Or they say, oh, acuity is my middle name, then I know they have that same itch. They want what's behind door number 1. There is nothing as awesome as sharing in someone's recovery. And I know this because I have my own recovery, and the people who shared their time and space with me, well, they did it for countless others. Sometimes for just a simple smile, and sometimes free of charge. I remember one day being caught up in the caboose of chaos, and I went whining to the man I had just asked to be my sponsor. And he looked at me with a sense of pity and grace, and he said to me, "Oh, you think you're having a bad day? You see that guy out there?" And then perched on the patio was a gentleman smoking 2 cigarettes, one in each hand, his jaw chomping down like a zombie from The Walking Dead. And I was directed to go tell him what a day I was having. Well, I paused. Not because I was afraid, but because I was so astonished at how flippant this man I just asked to be my sponsor was about my dilemma. I thought to myself, well, if that's the way you're going to be, I'll just go take my problems elsewhere. And out I went to talk to a man I would later know as Dave. Now, I'm not quite sure what we said, and I'm not quite sure if we made any sense. I mean, I know I was way too self-absorbed to listen, and I know Dave was listening to something else. But on that day, recovery happened. And I would go on to see Dave again and again. And today, Dave is one of my best friends. I mean, I was at his wedding, and he was at mine. I believe this is what it takes. The crisis worker wants to be of service. They choose to do this, because believe you me, it ain't about the pay. The moment they cross that threshold of whatever facility they work at or street corner, the crisis worker is all in. Smiles or frowns, they engage. Passive or aggressive, they are compassionate and warm. Their mantra is, "We ride at dawn!" Positive or unconditional positive disregard for their well-being and the well-being of others. And why do we do this? Because we have to. We're like Hansel and Gretel, wandering through the woods, no longer searching for home because we have found this in the engagements we do with others and in those itches we seek to scratch. Thank you.
Pete Hilen.